So welcome everyone. Thank you so much. There might be some people popping on here and there, but I so appreciate everyone being here. People that I haven't seen before, welcome. Members, welcome. And we oftentimes will go through the members and say, hey, what do I do? But this topic that Kat and Kevin are talking about tonight is so hot that it's such yeah, in all ways. Yeah. And I think it's such an opportunity to go to that space and think of it as a spiritual experience. So the first thing that we usually do is we do a little grounding exercise. So I'd like to invite you to find a comfortable spot. If you, I'm a little short, so my feet don't always touch the ground, but find your space where you can drop your shoulders down and allow your eyes to close. And bring your awareness to your breath. And you don't need to change your breath in any way. Simply notice your breath entering and exiting. And you might bring your awareness to how your chest rises and falls and your belly expands. And as you exhale, your belly and your body soften. So notice that. And at this time, you might be noticing the temperature of the room, the sounds inside the room or maybe outside of the room. Perhaps wherever you are, there might be a scent, a smell. If you're lighting a candle or a bowl of soup might be sitting next to you. And as we breathe and we notice, imagine that you're standing under a waterfall. The water is warm. It's showering down around your body. And then suddenly that waterfall is turning into a healing, shimmering, white energy. And with each inhalation, that energy is showering down through your head, the crown of your head, down into through your eyes and your mouth and your face. And it might pause around certain areas of your body, perhaps your throat. Perhaps you're having difficulty speaking your truth. And then let that energy, that shower, that shimmering light, shower down through your chest, into your heart. And let's spend a little time here and let that energy just fill your heart up. And being in this month of love, feel your heart expanding and all of that energy circulating through your heart and the love that is being poured into that organ and just let it energetically start moving outward, perhaps to the people on this call, perhaps to family members or colleagues or neighbors, or the people in your town, and just let it flow as far as you want it to go. And as that energy is flowing outward with the love that you want to send, allow that energy to continue down through your lungs, through your belly. That third chakra, that belly energy, it's all about who we are, our self-love, self-respect, who we are coming into this world. So allow that to circulate through your belly and then drop down into the pelvic bowl, which houses much of our reproductive organs and our sensuality and our pleasure and our, it's not just sexual pleasure though, it could be the pleasure of a beautiful day, or so just expand it, a piece of artwork, a piece of music, and then drop it down into that first chakra, that safety, security, and let it continue to drop down all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And with each inhalation and exhalation, we are moving that energy through this cosmic orbit, going down to the bottom of your feet, up through the back of your spine, through the crown of your head and back down. So it's constantly floating through. So sit here for a moment and just feel that energy. Your body might be feeling vibrations. So take this moment and be here with that energy. And when you hear the chimes that I'm going to ring, gently open your eyes. And look around the room, the Zoom room, and lift the corners of your mouth upward. And know that you can come back to this waterfall anytime you want. So let's take a deep breath in and let it out with a big sound. So take a deep breath in. And I'm going to unmute everyone because I want everybody to, let me see if I can unmute or unmute yourself. And let's do that deep breath again so we can all hear everybody move that energy outward. Take a deep breath in. That was a good one. So welcome again. And I'd like to introduce Pamela Cuccinell.
I'm here.
And we're going to pray that that her grid doesn't go down, because I'm sure we're going to be very interested in knowing what's astrologically what's going on for the next month or so. And now that we're halfway through Mercury retrograde, you're on, Pam.
We are in the energy of the new moon in Aquarius that kicked off on last week, and it's also the onset of the Chinese New Year, which is the middle ox. And I won't talk about that too much because I'm not a specialist in that, but what I find arresting is that ox energy is very tenacious, purposeful, steady, and it's a nice energy to have along with what is the major movement, from my impression, that kind of is the story of this year. Now, fortunately, 2020 is done. That was a year none of us will forget as long as we have the blessing of memory. And what is happening tomorrow is a picture in the sky between Saturn, which has to do with limitation, how we define things, what we where we put our effort, our commitment, take responsibility, and what we're afraid of, because nothing limits us as much as fear. So Saturn makes structures, and it's in what we call hard aspects. So a difficult geometric configuration with Uranus, which is the planet that symbolizes change, a need for freedom, upsets, unpredicted. And so when those two planets are in a dance together, needless to say, it's a challenging time, because what's happening is the momentum for change and restructuring is such that it is happening. And the more one imposes structure that doesn't fit the developmental changes, the more tumultuous the time. And so tomorrow is the first time it's exact. And it's not unusual when there's Saturn and Uranus movement for us to be witnessing something that physically happens on the planet. There's these powerful ice cold storms that are coming through, and that's just looking at North America. We may anticipate hearing or seeing something else that happens in this 48-hour window. But I think the thing to keep in mind is that with the new moon energy in Aquarius, we are inviting change in community. And I forget who I read so many disparate pieces of news and things like that. But a quote I heard today was, our world doesn't function best as an economy. Our world functions best as a society. And that's a very Aquarian message, because when society functions, when people are fed, they're sheltered, they have what they need in a healthcare capacity, they have the education, then the economy, it almost takes care of itself. And not to get into a political discussion, but whatever that looks like for you, I invite us all to just vision bringing in greater community and collaboration, because that's where we're headed. And as they used to say on Star Trek, resistance is futile, but this is this is also about creating new paradigms, new worlds, and things that we can only imagine 10 years from now, going to be so very different. And so we are the architects of what that looks like. And on the threshold of these new awakenings and changes, that's what I invite us to think about over the next month. So there I go.
So I just want to remind those members who would like to renew their membership, please do that. It's February, and it's supporting the community, and it's supporting us getting these emails out to you, and all good things. So just a reminder. And upcoming events for March, I mentioned that Katie Konopka is going to be speaking on how to organize your life and your business in 25 words or less. And then in April, Kristen Prevelet is going to be doing a little mini workshop called River of Time and your relationship with time. In May, Kathleen Booker has agreed to come and speak to us about the breath. She does breath work, and she refers to herself as the Jedi of calm. So I hope you'll be coming back to see us for that. And I'd like to now introduce Kat and Kevin. And let me just read this a little bit. You probably read it on the internet, but Kevin and Kat are lifelong learners and educators who bring years of experience and exploration to teach this workshop with humor, acceptance, and love. They are, and they're getting married. Yay! They're thrilled to share the ancient wisdom and joys of sacred sensuality with willing couples. Kevin is a holistic psychotherapist with over 30 years experience, trained in diverse modalities. And Kat helps people raise their vibrations and connect to more joy and pleasure through a number of modalities, including yoga, singing and chanting, and Tantra. And Kat, I really want to know more information about the Yogasm, a play shop for women, because I'm a woman and I'd really like to know. So since the death of her son in November 2018, She has embraced and taught grief yoga classes as well. So, Kat and Kevin, you are on, and I'm going to mute myself.
Well, thank you so much. It's such a delight to be here and see all your faces, and we're honored to be here.
And thank you, Kathy, for the great prayer and grounding, and Pamela for the positive reading, hopeful reading.
Yeah,
Good news for today.
Kathy, your prayer, your invocation was so tantric. It was tantric in all ways. So just inviting in all the senses and feeling that the light and through you, so beautiful, and such a great introduction to what we do as well. I just invite anyone who I understand that the need and the desire to want to be to not have your video on, but I want to invite you, if you have your video off, to, even if you darken the room, to turn your video on, because we're talking about sex. And we're talking about sensuality and sexuality. And yeah, if you want to lie down, we don't care where you are, what you're doing. But it just creates a better feeling of safety if everyone shows their faces when we're talking about a subject that's as intimate as what we are talking about. If you don't feel comfortable, I can't make you, of course, but I'm throwing that invitation out there.
And the other invitation that I put out there is just to help create a safe container for us tonight. Is that just that we agree to confidentiality, that who we see here, what we hear here, allow it to stay here. And you can let me see your hand that you agree to that. And this is not for us to have secrets or keep things in the shadow. It's just to allow us to feel safer to speak what's on our hearts and minds with this primary component of being alive. So thank you for that, everybody. I saw your hands.
Right. We just wanted to let you know what you can expect from us tonight. We're just throwing out an invitation to explore all of who we are experientially and exponentially, energetically, and including the marriage of sexuality and spirituality and the core components of life that belong together.
And it's only been several years. Well, how long have we been on this path?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
But up until a retreat we did on Tantra Mantra back in 2016, up until then, it seemed like sexuality was just this thing that you kind of had to get a knack for in being alive, and there was never any room for discussion, especially amongst other guys. And it just never made sense to me. It's such a core piece of who we are. In fact, it's like the deepest place we can experience the divine too, through our bodies. And just that the invitation that we accepted on that retreat was to allow for that worldview to come together and to be able to kind of have a whole different lay of the land.
Yeah, so I know that Pamela said I'm no expert on, I can't remember what it was you were saying it was, but we don't consider ourselves experts in Tantra. So we consider ourselves pretty ordinary folks who've learned to have pretty extraordinary sensual experiences, and that's what we teach. And because we've seen things on the internet that can be intimidating, or like, oh my God, that's too much. And we just consider ourselves pretty real folks who can throw things out in a real way. So we hope that you guys receive this, and you can receive this in a very real, open way.
Yeah, we refer a lot to Tantra, and I, growing up, I had images of Tantra as like folks in just these, twisted positions and Kundalini vibrations, and it just seemed really kind of just dark and inaccessible and just too weird for me. But come to find out that it really just, for me, it's I guess the bottom line is that we as human beings are designed to be ecstatic beings. Our job here on earth is to learn about ourselves, how energy flows through us, and most especially to be able to find the blocks that keep those energies flowing, and then just to free them and it's just a journey. It's like a never-ending exploration, and it's powerful as all get out to be able to find a kindred spirit to explore with. So really, that's what we're about. And when we get our workshops together, this is the first time we've had a we'll probably do more talking tonight than, I mean, we're not used to it because we're used to getting couples together and, like throwing it out to them and hearing back from, from their experiences and things. But hopefully we'll share tonight just a little more specifically about this tantric worldview and spirituality and how that can merge with sexuality, and how we'll give you it's that worldview. That's the first piece. And then the other piece we'd like to leave you with is some practical tools that we use and we share with the couples in our workshop to help in that inner exploration.
Yeah, they help us deepen our relationship as a couple and increase intimacy. But the truth is, Tantra is not, it's not all about sex. It's about, it's a life view. It's a life choice. It's a weaving together of everything, actually. Um, so, I just wanted to say that you don't have to have a couple in order to appreciate and practice and really delve into Tantra. Tantra can be a very individualistic experience as well. So we don't want you to feel like if you're here on your own that there's, that there's anything that you can't take from this as well.
Yeah, in fact, we just participated in a month-long Tantra workshop online. People all over the world, it was pretty positive, but it was pretty much geared towards folks to work individually. And they had opportunities to take from that to work as couples. But for the most part, like Kat was saying, Tantra is that worldview, that experience of being most fully alive.
Yeah, they were talking during that 3-week workshop about how there's an anti-ecstasy movement. We don't believe that we have the capacity, that we have the right to live in ecstasy. And what if we do? What if ecstasy is our birthright? What if ecstasy is our is what we can learn and energetically aspire to? So just something to throw out there.
And that's a very different worldview than the one that Judeo-Western Christianity kind of view of, like, ultimately we are sinful. Now there's the 10 Commandments: thou shalt not this, do that, because we leave you to your own devices, and oh my God, you're going to really F things up. But it's a whole different assumption that we have within us. All we need to explore and to heal and to learn to love and to really, ultimately, we each are the energies of love. And how do we most tune into that and express that? Yeah,
so you can see that we're like a middle-aged couple here. So how do we get here in our what brought us here? When we met, we were in our I guess our late 50s, and kind of feeling well, I'll just speak for myself. I was feeling a little old, a little dried up. I'd gone to the gynecologist, and she had said to me, your vagina is atrophying. And I was like, oh my God, we can't have that. I mean, and for me, it was like a challenge to realign myself with my sexuality. So just having that, going to that gynecologist. But we were both a product of that Judeo Christian culture too. When I was growing up, when I was a little girl, I went up to my mom and I said, Mommy, how come sometimes when I wipe myself, it makes me jump? Because I touched my clitoris, and it gave me a little tingle. And she said, don't touch that, it will ruin your marriage. And so I never touched myself. I didn't even know if I could wash myself. I didn't know if I could use a washcloth down there. I'm like, okay, I won't touch it. I won't do, don't do anything, and I mean, the first 3 years of my first marriage, I faked orgasm. So this is, I guess what's so interesting for me is that this is a journey. We're all on this journey, and we all are on different parts on this journey. And it doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are. We have people in our classes that are young and people that are older, and we're all finding this journey to open and allow ourselves to come to a new understanding of what it means to be a whole, complete and whole sexual being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me growing up, one of my early years, I was really kind of ultra sexual, being out in nature all the time and getting naked and finding a neighbor to do that with. But then he turned out he was another boy, and oh my God, all kinds of shame. And but just wanting to back then to know more about my body as I was becoming a man and, puberty, adolescence, all that. But, in the religion and the household I grew up in, sex wasn't to be talked about. The only reason sex existed was within marriage to have children. And, aside from that, we don't want to hear about it. If you need to know anything about it, you're to figure it out yourself. And I didn't do too good figuring on my own. And growing up with guys from a similar religious tradition and economic background, we'd all just kind of BS each other about who did what with who. And a lot of the times we'd be saying yes to this and had no idea what we were really affirming. But by the time, kind of fast forward to meeting with Kat, sexuality for me was just that piece of life that where I had kind of like a modus operandus that I had learned. Basically it was pretty one dimensional. Here's an opportunity to be excited, have an erection, find, continue a way to stay excited up to a point. And then of course it was a straight line to ejaculation, and, then we're done, take a nap, and, maybe start a little later. But, it was just it was pretty sad. And then come to find out, I guess it was just 3 months. Well, I guess the other part of that whole journey in the dark for myself was, like just feeling frustrated that I wasn't enough sexually, premature ejaculations, all that kind of stuff, just really not having much awareness and certainly control over my body and how I operated. Fast forward to being with Kat after a few months, she says, well, how would you like to go to a retreat with me? I was like, oh yeah, I'm into that kind of stuff, and what's it about? She says, Tantra mantra. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And
So Tantra was the obviously the Tantra part, and then there was mantra, which was singing. So for me, it was sex and singing, which you couldn't get any better than that for me.
yeah. And I just knew, thank God, my heart speaks loudly sometimes through my head and doubts, and it's just like, go for it, dude. And it's changed my life, changed our lives, because this whole new world, and that's part of, Kat mentioned, we're all on our own journeys. But the nice part about what we've discovered is that the playing field of spirituality and sexuality, it's just a powerful it's a powerful foundation from which to be alive and to explore and to just be most alive.
Yeah, and I mean in that workshop, I learned what it was to be an ecstatic being. That I learned different levels of ecstasy, and I have been able to continue that journey and learning more and more about that. And I it was like opening up a whole new world. Just realizing that, oh my God, there's this whole world that I didn't know about, and it was so amazing. And it was like I wanted to tell every woman about it. It's like, oh my God, you can do all these things with your body. Oh my God, your body can be this ecstatic, you don't have to fight so hard. It can be all about relaxation. It can be, it was just like this. I just wanted to just tell the world. And I had been teaching yogasm. I had been teaching women how to expand their responsiveness through yoga, through movement, breath, and sound. But I hadn't experienced that full expansion that we've now learned is possible. I mean, we're still on the journey. I mean, I think there's more to explore, and I will be a lifelong learner. I just always want to keep exploring and find what else can we learn to just take us to the next energetic level. So yeah. So shall we talk a little bit? I mean, I'm sure everybody knows something about Tantra, right? Everybody's familiar with Tantra at all, or are you,
We're going to have some time, especially at the end, for questions. There's a thumbs up for a Tantra person. Tantra awareness.
Yeah, so we sent out this handout. It's actually from the book, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Tantra, but it was like the best, most cohesive, just one page synopsis that we could find. The word Tantra comes from an ancient Sanskrit meaning expansion through awareness. So it's obviously an Eastern tradition, and it's been going on for thousands of years, this tantric spiritual tradition of combining sexuality and sensuality. Tantra is a spiritual path that involves specific practices that use breath, sounds, and movement. Those are the three main tools of Tantra: breath, movement, sound, breath, sound, movement. They use visualizations to quiet the mind and activate sexual energy, directing it throughout the body to achieve states of consciousness and bliss. So we're trying to use our sexual energy to quiet our mind and create the consciousness that we maybe create through meditation, through other things, through other. I know so many of you have so many different kinds of modalities that you teach, that you study, that you. So this is just another one. Allowing sex and the exploration of your sexual energy and moving your sexual energy through you to reach higher consciousness and awareness.
And I just want to emphasize is the key in what Kat shared is allowing. It's not a matter of doing and figuring and finagling, and that's all very Western, and that's the ways that I was oriented to the world. But so much of exploring who we are energetically and through Tantra is just like paying attention to our energies as we're become aware of them, but also in letting go of things that can block the flow, and just to be more aware of what's really right within us. So just allowing.
Right. Yeah. So the tantric practices can help heal past hurts, because a lot of what holds us back through in our sexual bodies is trauma, through especially, I mean, well, women and men
Sure.
have their own traumas that they've dealt with, but women often have, I was date raped twice. We all have, just that little statement that my mother made was in some ways a trauma. Don't touch yourself. It's, I can't touch myself. So Tantra can help us deal with some of these past hurts that we store in the sexual centers. So, and healing those things can make us feel more fully alive. When we practice together, the techniques bring about a powerful flow of energy between yourself and your partner. You can find a circuit of energy that is a beautiful, moving, energetic flow that expands your love for each other and the universe. I'm just reading that right off the page there. It expands your love for each other and the universe. It's so interesting that I never thought of the fact that we could love the better that we could love each other, or if you're loving yourself, the better you can love yourself and bring your sexual energy and your sexual expansiveness out into the world. We're making a difference. I believe we're making a difference in the world. We're changing the world through bringing advanced love, through unconditional love, through sexual energetic love into the universe. I really believe that. I have a friend who says, we heal the world through small circles of light. And so if we can allow these circuits of light just through our own bodies.
Sure. Being beacons of light, that's even in the Christian tradition, that human beings, we at our optimal state are that divine energy, and that's contagious. To run into love from in another person, to sense that, it can awaken that within ourselves.
So the next part on this sheet is, so what is tantric sex? It can be any and all of the following: a way to experience deeper connection, more love and intimacy; techniques to create ecstasy by directing energy toward free expression and breaking barriers; sex acts become elevated into divine practice that unites beloved so that every sensation is alive and every touch and movement considered a divine gift. I just love that. I love that whole idea of every touch being a divine gift. I know you probably have all heard that we are expressions of the divine. So our hands are what we do in the world, are expressions of the divine. So the way we join our bodies and it is an expression of the divine. It's, so I just get really excited when I talk about this stuff. It just brings me so much joy to think about bringing more passion and pleasure and joy into the world.
Yeah, it's just just waking up. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I think maybe we ought to do something to.
Well, part of when we're talking about being sexual, when from a tantra perspective, it's using certain tools that we share. We'll do a couple tools with you tonight, but when Kat and I are being intimate, and we do a lot with eye gazing, looking into each other's souls. A lot of times we can actually imagine. We'll talk about what we're imagining too, as far as the flow of energy through Kat, through her chakras, and through my chakras at the same time, or else there's a flow that we can feel after a while, and it just kind of gives us a nice blueprint to lay out a new experience, and just to become more aware of really what is going on within us when we're excited, or when we're just being close.
Kathy?
Yeah, I don't know if you could see my hand was raised in
I
my.
did not see it, but I saw your real hand.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to start referring people to your classes, because I see a lot of men and women who are on the fertility journey. And I'm thinking, my God, they need to, because more than once I'll tell them, just go home and have screaming, sloppy sex and don't think about, am I conceiving anything tonight? But, and when you bring the sacred and the divine into it, this is core that so many couples forget.
It's the power of intention too that we see, and then when couples, just the couples that actually sign up to be with our, now it's 4-night workshop, and they show up on that first night, that intention to be part of it and to have at least that time each week, it's amazing just what that does. But from there, it's exciting to see folks take off. We have a couple that in this last group that started a couple weeks ago, they just had intercourse for the first time, and they're like, oh, they didn't think that they'd be at that place. And
She just had her first orgasm with a man, so that was pretty cool too.
and we've had folks in their 70s talk about having the best experiences in sex ever, finding new things. And it's but also couples really need to be ready, because we also get phone calls from folks saying like, we'd like to do your class, we know it's on Zoom now, but can we just block our picture out? And like, no, because that just kind of reinforces that whole shadowy image of our experience. Of our whole thing is just to take sexuality out of the closet, and here bring the light of spirituality over, and let's shine them both together. And
Yeah. So the 3 tools: movement, breath, and sound. So we thought we'd start with something very simple. It's a chant, and I led sacred chanting for a while. It's a very simple chant. Sanskrit. The words are ahem prama. It means I am love. So we unfortunately we that we can't sing all together on Zoom.
No.
So we'll lead it, and we will do it. We usually do it 108 times, but I think we'll do it 54 times instead.
Just in the interest of time.
In the interest of time, yeah. But if you want to, Sanskrit is a way to, and chanting is a way to raise your vibration as well. We've done this while having intercourse before. This chant, it's an amazing chant of saying I am love as you are going through the sex act. So aham prama, it's very easy. And so when it feels comfortable, this is the wonderful thing about Zoom is you don't have to worry about what you sound like, especially if you're alone, or we can't see you that well either, so it doesn't really matter what you look like. So
these folks are great.
So if you're with a couple, you may want to put your hand on your partner's chest, and we sing aham prama, 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 aham prama. Thank you. Now just shake that out. Shake it all out. Oof.
Oh yeah.
This is actually a tantric. Shaking is actually a tantric exercise because you want to let the energy be able to flow easily through the whole body.
Yeah.
You can make sounds. Ah. So I wanted to offer the idea that if you do not have a partner, that we could have had you do this into the Zoom and look in your own eyes and sing I aham prama to yourself. So if you have, if you want to do that into a mirror, aham prama, I actually could have sent that out, but if you look it up, it's Deborah Pamala Miten who do it, aham prama. And if you want to know that, ask Kathy, she can get a hold of me and I can send you.
They can get it through Ignite the Sacred, right? Reach us.
Yes.
We have our website.
Yes, you can email us at ignitethesacred@gmail.com and we forgot to put all this stuff on the handouts. We just like
We haven't done this before.
No, that's right. We haven't, not online. Yeah. So the next, so that was sound. The sound can also obviously be part of, we did that nice sigh that Kathy had us do at the beginning. Let's all do that one time. Just a big inhale breath. And I'm going to head into a breathing exercise. Circular breathing.
Folks here familiar with breathing? Is a technique to be more in touch with emotion and healing. And
I don't think anybody's breathing right now. What do you think?
as a practice. I don't mean as like, as a basic life support system.
Yeah. I have to say that breathing has been so so instrumental in changing so much for me. When my son died, it was breath work that really helped me with the grief. And breath work is what gets me into where the energetic flow of my sexuality is. And so breath work is it's just, you can't beat it. So, the important thing is breathing through the whole body. With the yogic breath, a 3-part breath, breathing into the base of the ribs, and then the mid ribs, and then the upper ribs, and that's letting it all out.
3-part breath.
I'd like you to take in a little bit more air than you think you can. So really fill the lungs as we do this. You can go ahead and continue, and I'll talk a little bit. We're talking about circular breathing now, so we're not stopping at the top or the bottom, but that's another technique that you can use.
And it helps to breathe through your mouth, with your mouth open a little bit more than usual.
Unlike typical yoga, breathing through our mouth. And you can make a sigh when you breathe out too. Especially if you're alone. Make some noise. Energetically, you want to feel that air moving up the back of the spine and down the front of the spine. If you can continue this breath, this can be almost a psychedelic experience. I've had almost psychedelic experiences with the breath work sessions where we didn't do anything more than this. And then breathe a little faster. It's important to get your body involved in this. So if you can, get your whole chest, your whole pelvis involved in the breath. I see some of you almost falling asleep. So I think we need to add a little movement to this. So, all right, we're gonna add some movement. The movement is a pelvic rock. So I'll just get up here and demonstrate. It's a little awkward. Let's see. Can I get up here? All right.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like a cat-cow. If you do yoga, I'm inhaling, my belly's coming out. I'm exhaling, my belly's going back out. And the pelvis rocks in and out too. So my tailbone sticks out and then my tailbone goes in there. So I'm inhaling. If you want to stand up to do this, just to feel it more, or sit on the edge of your seat. Sitting on the edge of your seat is a great way, just like you can put your hands on your knees. So you're curling in and out.
I imagine inhaling up to the sky and exhaling with my pelvis forwarded breath, or my pelvic thrusted forward to the ground.
All right, let's get it together. Inhale. This is something you can do with a partner.
Facing each other.
If you can continue doing that, can't see us very well. Okay, let's move this back a little bit. If you can continue doing that, we are going to add some chakra awareness through the breath. So if you bring your awareness down to the first chakra, all the way down to the tailbone. I just like to, so if you can visualize the color red, the sound of the first chakra is lam, 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 lam. So I'm just going to go through these chakras and tell you what happens when the chakras are blocked and when they are opened to your sexual energy. So when this first chakra is flowing freely, you feel fired up with the sex drive. In the sex chakra, you have a feeling of aliveness. You have a zest for life. As you know, this is your center for your basic needs, your grounding, your survival. Now, if your first chakra is closed to sexual energy, if you're out of balance or not fully open, you can experience negative emotions like guilt, like shame, like a sense of scarcity, or fear of not having enough sex. You can be needy, both emotionally and physically. All right, if it's getting too much to keep breathing like that, then just breathe in a circular motion, however it feels comfortable. If you can continue breathing that way, you'll move your energy up to the second chakra, just below the navel. The color is orange. The sound is VUM. This is the source of the body's vitality, the creativity and flow. Sexual energy is expressed through the movements of the pelvis. So this is our second chakra with the movements of the pelvis. This chakra governs your emotions, your creativity, your sensitivity, your sexuality, intimacy, emotional well-being, self-expression. When your second chakra is closed, a person can feel tense, critical of their partner, dissatisfied, jealous, or you may experience the push-pull of come here, go away. There's so much push for orgasm that is frequently elusive. Moving your awareness up to the third chakra at the solar plexus. The color is yellow. The sound is rum. Here, the sexual energy is felt as personal power. When this chakra is open, lovers feel like they are equal partners and masters of their emotions. Their lovemaking pours their energy into one another, and orgasm is the ultimate expression of personal power.
I just want to pause here to keep the focus on your breathing. Whatever you can imagine is fine in terms of the chakras. Whatever you can attend to in terms of the words are fine. Just really focus on your breath.
If your third chakra is blocked, sex may feel threatening. People feel that orgasm will take their power away, or that they aren't up to it or good enough. All right, moving up to the heart chakra. The color is green, the sound is yum. When your heart chakra is open, you feel trust, empathy, compassion. You feel a passion to share love, joy, and laughter, to be a playful child. When your heart chakra is closed, you feel doubt, cynicism. You get argumentative. When the heart is not involved, sex remains purely physical. Orgasm is one-dimensional. You feel a release, but it's not connected. With love, sex is transformed into a higher, more healing and ecstatic experience. Feeling your heart chakra and moving up to the throat, the fifth chakra. The color is blue, the sound is hum. When your throat chakra is open, you know who you are. You know what you want. You can express it. You feel at ease with yourself and know exactly the lover you appreciate and the lovemaking you like. You know how to express yourself. Closed, if your fifth chakra is closed, you may wonder what you are supposed to be feeling and tend to cater to your partner's need rather than your own. You may fake orgasm. Orgasmic sensations might remain skin deep, as if someone else is experiencing them. Taking another breath into the fifth chakra, and then moving up to the sixth chakra at the third eye. Color is indigo, sound kashum or om. This is the center of intuition and imagination. You follow hunches and understand things without having to use reason and logic. In this center, energy is often experienced as inner light. When closed, sex loses its mystery and excitement, and life in general seems dull and devoid of higher qualities. One more breath into the sixth chakra. And now sending it up to the second chakra at the crown. The color is purple. The sound, silence. When your seventh chakra, your crown chakra, is open, you feel a joyful connection to everything and everyone around you. You feel you can expand beyond the energies of the body, as if you are pure space and larger than life. At this level, sex is an ecstatic, mystical experience. When this is open, you are natural and spontaneous. You do not let habits of the past control you. When it is closed, you tend to live in a fantasy world or some future utopia that you feel cannot be manifested in the real world. One more breath into the seventh chakra. One more big, heavy breath, big breath. Ah, two more breaths in. Sigh, ah. Ah. Ah.
Shake it out
Can
wherever
make you
you
feel
are.
a little high doing that.
A couple moments just to settle into a regular breath. Ah. And again, the circular breath is a basic tool that we work with throughout the course in terms of just a beginning awareness into allowing that awareness of energy circulating. And then we introduce imagination, imagining the chakras, imagining the flow of energy through the chakras. And again, we're all in different places with being able to see, but as we practice, we all deepen in the ways that we need. And simple stuff, but it's very powerful.
It, yeah, this is the simplest tantra and the most elaborate tantra, actually. So, I mean, people use this at all levels. That's okay. You use this at all levels. So,
You open it up to comments.
yeah, sure,
reflections?
yeah.
Any
Comments, reflections, any
how was this for you?
Janet?
Yeah, I just want to thank both of you. I really enjoyed this, and I also just want to share with everybody here. Can you hear it? Can you hear me? Okay. I would like to share with everybody here that I and my husband took Kat and Kevin's workshop. We actually were in the first one,
Yes.
and I highly recommend it. So I have one question for you, which is just very small. I never heard that chakras have sounds. So I was wondering if you could just go over the sounds so I could write them down.
Yes. If you want me to, I'll put them in the chat. So I don't know.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Yeah.
Is everybody, are more people interested in the sounds, or we'll do them quickly. So the root chakra is lum, and I remember that by thinking it's the lower chakra. The next one is vum, and I remember that by
spell them. Yeah.
they're all just am, but they're pronounced like more like hum, but it's LAM and then VAM, V as in Victor, vum. And I remember that because it's your sexual center, so it's vavavum. So I remember vum. And then the third chakra is the stomach, the solar plexus, and I remember it's rum. And I remember that by my stomach rumbling. And the fourth chakra is the heart chakra. I get these sometimes. I've learned two different variations on this. One was Tibetan and one was more Indian. So I'm going to read the ones that I just read. So the third chakra and the fourth chakra is yum, yum, and like your heart, like yum, 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 yum. Yeah, they not only have sounds. I mean, you can chant to your chakras too. Yum, 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 yum. And then the fifth chakra is hum, 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 hum. And the really amazing thing is when you start feeling these things, lum, all of the sounds, lum, rum, or vum, rum, hum, yum, yum, hum. Those are the two that I get mixed up sometimes. Yum, hum, because they were different in the Tibetan. Kashum, and silence. Kashum.
Okay.
And they all have this beautiful resonance that can activate these chakras. So yeah, it's a whole nother practice is doing the seed syllables. They're called the seed syllables, and if you look them up online, you can find the seed syllables for the chakras.
Thank you.
I thought it was interesting. I'd never. I mean, we talk about lots of things with the chakras, but to me, thinking how chakra might affect your sexuality to me was an interesting thing. So we hope that was interesting for you as well.
Any other impressions or questions?
Well, just a comment. I wanted to say the circular breathing. I don't know that I've done that before. And while I was doing it, it's like, okay, this is all right. But by the time I finished, I just felt really elevated. I mean, really an incredible energy rush at the end of that thing. That was terrific. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
You're welcome.
had like psychedelic experiences doing that kind of breath work. I mean, it's like they started that breath work. Some of the breath work started as a response to when they shut down the LSD programs in the United States.
Like Stanislav Grof came up with holotropic breathing back in the 70s, I guess. And then it's this type of breathing. It's like the latest variation, and it's been practiced quite a bit in workshops around. And it really allows folks to access a lot of deep-seated emotion and feeling, and pretty invigorating.
Makes sense. The breath is primary. So,
Yeah.
right. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. You're welcome.
So,
I,
yeah,
I wanted to bring up one thing that I saw on TV yesterday. Since you're in the business of this, you might be interested in, because I have to bring it up. I have to admit that I was watching The Bachelor, but my daughter asked me to watch it, so I did. But anyway, one of the segments where, they have these dates, okay? And so the women are always expecting like hot air balloon rides, or riding off into the sunset on horses, or going out on a boat. And so what her activity was tantric yoga.
Wow.
And I mean, it was fascinating to watch, because these two people didn't really know each other. And they were really, they were positioned on top of each other half the time. It was just very fascinating to watch. But what was interesting was the reactions. I mean, they were looking at each other, and that was a big part of the exercise, was to look into each other's eyes. And they both looked really happy. But when it got done, the bachelor loved it. Okay, he kept saying, "Oh, I feel really close to you," but the female said, "I hated this. I never want to do it again." But it was interesting, because it was done between two people that didn't know each other, and that they didn't have intentions of being there for the same reasons. But I just thought you guys might want to know about it and look it up.
Interesting. Yeah, this is something that two people would really need to agree to up front, right? This is not like a common, I'm going to take you to do this thing for the first time.
But also, especially if you're a woman and you're doing it for the first time, stuff can come up. You can memories can come up, trauma can come up, and it's not going to make your experience so great the first time.
Sure.
And so you're supposed to be ecstatic with this guy you don't know. Forget about
Right.
it. You're remembering being abused as a child, or
Sure.
whatever. You don't know. So
And guys too, shame, wounding, a lot of abuse the guys have experiences will come up in intimacy as well. So it's really, you need to be very careful.
Kathy said, not good for a first date. Agreed. Unless you're both Tantra practitioners, then it would be a really good first date.
Yeah, definitely.
Be really great first date, actually. Yeah.
Thanks, Beverly.
Thank you.
Kathy.
so you have 4 evenings of gatherings. It seems to me that this is a good practice. So do you offer like once a month, groups get together online or whatever, and just go through the practice that we all just did with the breathing and the movement? Because as a yoga practitioner, I understand, and a mantra practitioner, movement and sound moves energy. So it makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, our first online, we sort of held back doing it online, because we thought, Janet, that everything was so physical and everything. When we were doing it in person, we were a little hesitant to do it online, but then we did it, and it turned out, it's like Zoom has its own gifts too. And it turned out that, we were going to do it for 3, and then they wanted 4, and then they wanted to meet once a month, and we do meet with that group once a month. So, that is a possibility, as
Well, that brings up the possibility that I hadn't considered of just having like a drop-in group for just basic Tantra.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea, because we forget sometimes too. It's good for us to teach it, because what you teach, you have to learn, you have to practice. So
Sure.
So it'd be good for us to do it too. I like that idea,
Yeah,
Kathy.
thanks,
Thank
Kath.
you. Yeah. So I'd like to say something else that I learned about the chakras that I didn't know about, and that's that there are polarities, male-female polarities. Are you guys familiar with that? That the chakras have? Okay, yeah, I wasn't, so some of you are. So I'll just share that, and we use it sometimes.
For example, the first chakra is male, so it's the chakra where I give to her first chakra. And so we'll be making love, and we'll actually say that out loud. I'm giving to you, and then Kat will say,
I'm receiving. Yeah.
And then that's a kind of an imagining the energy exchange between us. And then we move up to the second chakra, and
which second chakra, the woman is, the womb. The woman gives to the man. She offers that energy to him.
And I say, I receive your second.
And they make so much sense because the third chakra is power, the personal power, which is, so the male gives to is male energy to female energy, personal power. Heart chakra is the emotions. Woman gives to man.
I receive.
Yeah. Throat chakra, that seems like it could go either way, but that's male energy, or divine masculine, divine feminine, let's say. As he gives the power of speaking your truth and your choices and voice. And then the third chakra is joined. No, I'm sorry. Intuition, it's female. Female, feminine, divine feminine to divine masculine, of course. Divine, women have been honored for their intuition for years. So intuition is female to male, and then this one is the one that's shared.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting, and you can use it however you like. We were going to do one more thing, which is hopefully doesn't annoy the shit out of you, but it's shaking. It's this is something that it's actually used. There are a number of reasons to shake. You shake when you are letting go of anxiety, just like you've heard of, an impala that's chased by a lion. He stops, he shakes it off, he's fine. You can use this. I used this the other day when I almost got hit by a car in a parking lot, and usually I was pushing not a golf cart, a shopping cart, and somebody came by and almost hit me, and my first reaction was to go into this story, but instead of going into the story, I just decided to shake. I shook it all out, just like an impala, and it really worked. It's really something to try sometime if you ever feel like it.
Yeah, there's whole tribal cultures have known about shaking for eons, and it's just something we're learning about in the Western world that can be helpful. So how long are we going to do this for?
Well, we won't make you do it. We did it.
If you can stand up and do it, that'd be best. How long?
Stand up.
Go for 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes of shaking. I'm going to talk a little bit because I need to put some music on too. I'm sorry about that. I should have done this. Advanced music sound.
So yeah, just start shaking. Are you gonna wait for you?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, start shaking. If you can stand up, really just let it out. We were at a class last month. We were doing this for 45 minutes. It was like, oh my God, what were we doing? But it was pretty wild.
45 minutes, yeah.
Just shake it out. Arms, legs, shake your butt. Make some noise if you want.
Shake all the energy out of your tailbone, out of your women. Shake your labia. Men, shake your testicles. Shake it all out.
Shake your dick. Just the guy.
Just the guy, shake your dick. Women, shake your breasts. Make some noise.
Shake your mouth.
You sound like a horse. Shake your head. Shake your hair, shake your head. shoulders, your wrists, your feet, your ankles.
Good shaking out there, folks. I see you doing it. Nicely done, everybody. So that was 3 minutes. That was, you don't have to use 3 minutes to get the benefits of shaking on your own. Even to set a timer for a minute if you're needing to let go of stuff.
Just one last comment about shaking. Shaking is also used to be able to increase your tolerance for pleasure. Believe it or not, it's a tantric exercise so that you sometimes going through these sexual experiences can be very intense, and you want to be able to expand your ability to hold these experiences, and shaking is one way to do it. So on that,
yeah, I guess we'll close our presentation and open up to you folks for questions and curiosities and feedback, impressions, whatever. Willing participants.
Yes.
Some crazy stuff.
Yes, Joan.
Well, when we got the shutdown, I'll be blunt because I said, too bad I don't have a boyfriend because I would be making love all day. So I went to the Tantra Festival, International Tantra Festival. Now it was more about breathing, even though it sounds sexy, and I feel that I felt you had a very beautiful, loving way explaining it. I've studied chakras, and I seem to understand it a little bit better the way both of you speak and share. And I'm older, I'm going to be 68 in March, but I don't want to give up on relationships, but I want to have it deeper, more mature, because I was a little immature, but but whatever. I lived through the 70s and 60s, but I'm looking to go on a soulful level. And I just thought this was a great class, and I just wanted to thank you because and it's interesting because people don't realize men have a lot of traumas. And they have this whole performance anxiety, and you're supposed to be the stud and not care about the women. So it's very interesting because men go through a lot and they don't talk about it. So I think that's really important. And yeah, and to speak about sex differently. I know I'm going to be honest. I went away to college, and the first day, the girls and I didn't even have a boyfriend yet. And the girls in the dorm were going, "We're going to treat men the way they treat us." So that was the message I got. It was like, love them and leave them. But it was kind of like, it was the attitude of showing you're not, and then I don't know what to say, but it was just a different attitude. And now I'm just looking for a soulful, heartfelt, loving way. And I think you did a beautiful presentation. I thank you.
Joan, and blessings on your adventure.
Yeah, and there's no reason why you can't be a fully alive sexual being by yourself.
Yeah. I agree. I think we need a lot more dancing, a lot more movement, a lot more shaking, because we've been deprived. We've been deprived not just through COVID, but in this culture. It's like, the dance like no one is watching you is perfect.
Yes, yes. One thing we didn't really touch on was the fact that orgasms can be waves instead of just like boop boop, and that's the true. I mean, that was the true like woo thing for me.
True,
like, ride the wave.
The Western world, it's like a straight line from excitement to orgasm, right? For men and women, but especially for me as a man, it's like, okay, this is the deal. You're excited. This is the way to keep staying excited. Keep it up for as long as you can. Keep going a little longer, and then it's like, but Tantra, it's like letting go of that. It's like it's not a beeline from excitement to ejaculation. It's like paying attention to excitement and how can you play with that? How can you share that with your partner? How can she or he help you? And instead of riding that straight line, it's like getting to a point of almost, first you noticing yourself almost ejaculating, stopping back from that, and just more like riding waves. I remember hearing about Sting back in the, I don't know, the 90s or whatever. He and his wife were making love for days on end. And I was like, well, bless him. I don't know how anything like that's possible. But it's possible once you get rid of that old straight line trajectory and learn to play with your energies instead of just needing to be so goal oriented. That makes any sense.
Right.
Letting go of expectations and projections. That's huge.
You got it. First of all, you got to believe. That's the number one thing. You have to have you got to, okay, this is going to open me up somehow, you really do. You have to be willing to do the work and continue. And just like yoga, just, keep stretching yourself, I mean,
and the other thing with this is really, especially when you're with a couple, Kat and I are on different, we have our different learning styles and ways of learning, and we'll be doing an exercise like we plugged into this Tantra thing online, and we're doing this breathing exercise, and Kat's just about orgasmic, and I'm even I'm having a hard time just initially imagining something, and my old tendency would be like, oh my God, if I could get this, could I ever get that? But it was like, you know what? Relax. This is, do the best I can do. That's all I need to do. And, I just continue to improve that way. So there's no comparisons, but it's just really, it's a sharing of where we reach your end.
He would tease me. He would say whenever we did the breath work, well, you're either going to come or cry, because it either made me cry or come. So
she's very sensitive.
It's an energetic, orgasm. So it's not, or it's an ecstatic. It's just ecstasy. It's what the mystics.
Yeah, I have a question. Is the breathing, is it called transformational breathing? Is that where it comes from, or
Well,
is it?
They're all different kinds. I'm not really sure which one transformational
Yeah,
is.
because I'm just remembering that, one of my professors in graduate school did transformational breathing, and I helped organize a workshop. We did something for one day, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, at one point with the breathing, and we used something to breathe into it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I had just had this powerful experience that all the love that I ever needed was just right. It was palpable. It was an amazing, amazing experience of love being totally present. I mean, it sounds very kind of kumbaya-ish, but it was an incredible experience. So,
not to me, I've experienced it too, Alan. So I understand just what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I end up usually after a light session or breath session, just feeling as if I'm just filled with light and just vibrating light. Even.
I'm serious about sending some of my clients to you, because it's that, there's so much stress and pressure to create another soul to come into this world with these couples. And
welcome everybody with open
arms.
Yeah,
we like it.
And it is for couples. And
it's for couples.
Right now we're just heterosexual couples. But that primary reason for that is the balancing, the male-female stuff we've been doing, but we're trying to rework it. Eventually we'll have same-sex couples.
I think same-sex couples would be fine doing it, as long as one person, they don't even have to stay with that polarity, but one person holds the female polarity at one point, and one person holds the male polarity for some of the exercises that we do. But then they could switch too, and we don't care.
Yeah.
And Kathy, you asked about yogasm. Once we started doing this, I haven't really done yogasm for a while, so I sort of gave it up when we started doing. So much more fun working with a partner in the work, So
I'll start pestering you.
All right. I thought about it, because the biggest thing is that so many women will come up to me and say, I could never get my husband, my partner to do this. There's no way I could get my man to do this with me. I would love to go. So I am thinking maybe women do need something on their own as well. So
I'm curious if you interview the people who want to sign up. Do you interview them in any way?
No, we don't.
Sometimes folks will ask us questions. Like, for
Yeah.
example, I mentioned the woman recently who wanted to do the class, but she was concerned that there might be other people that would recognize her. That's why she and her partner wanted to be blank on the screen, and we had to turn that down. So it's like a self-selection process. Folks.
Okay, but I think your thinking process about same-sex couples, you could have you would have the conversation with them that one needs to hold the yin, needs to hold the yang.
Yeah.
That was my only query, really.
Yeah. Same-sex couples aren't usually attracted to what we teach so much. So, but we're open to any. We're open
I'd certainly be open to it.
Absolutely.
Pat, in response to your statement that some women say, oh, I'd love to do it, but my guy never would. If I just told my husband it's going to be more sex, he'd sign up.
It's so funny, but there are some men who won't if you tell them it's going to, because they think it's going to be hard work.
Might be more pressure.
And that's one thing that we found. Like I say, you have to do the work, but part of the work is relaxing, and that was
right.
That was one of the biggest things I had to learn, to relax during sex. I mean, it was just like sometimes. I mean, I can just lie there and be orgasmic. It's just amazing.
Right. That's interesting. It's back to performance as opposed to reciprocity.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I think that the couples dealing with infertility would gain from, is learning to relax, because so much of it's like, oh, and if I have an orgasm at the same time, maybe the baby will be a boy or whatever. You know how they have all these different things. So yeah. Let's see what you're saying, Kathy. You're offering. Oh, I see the 4 messages there.
In the chat. Yeah, well, I think I heard you say during your discussion tonight that there's no judgments here. There's no judgment. You know,
nope.
if there's
well, for example, like we're making love and I'm not able to have an erection. In the old days, that was like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with me? How am I gonna do? Can I think of something? But now it's like, Kat's like, no expectations, no projections. The funny thing is when I can relax into that, boing. So it's
you don't have that problem very often, though, Dave. So sorry.
No, it makes a huge freaking difference.
Plus, we teach a position where soft entry is possible, and yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Janet, do you have something?
I was just going to say, I don't know, but I heard about it and I decided I wanted to come. So I asked my husband, who wasn't interested. And then I thought about it and I said to him, this is important for me. So I'm asking you to come for me. And it was on that basis. And he said he'd think about it. And on that basis, he came and was glad he did. But, I think it's wonderful if 2 people are just saying, oh, this sounds wonderful. But I don't, it wasn't that case initially with us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Our last group, we've actually had more men interested that have kind of pulled their women along. So you never know. It's always,
Well, Kat and Kevin, I just want to thank you so much. The website is ignitethesacred.com. And is your calendar and everything is up there with your upcoming
workshop. I think that you press on the workshop and it goes down a little too far down the bottom. So just scroll down and right there. Yeah.
Great. Any last minute?
And we're always ignitethesacred@gmail.com. We're available for questions or, concerns or whatever.
Thank you. This has been great. Beautiful.
Very, very welcome. And thank you all for sharing this time tonight with us. Generate some love. We're going to ask you to hold your hands up to the screen to share that love in a couple minutes or in a minute.
Right. Yeah. The warmth and that energy.
That warm love circulating. and then get it to the place, put it up to the screen to share
Everyone
with
in the group.
everybody in the group.
You know, we've created our own small circle of light of beautiful opening towards expansion and love and energy in the world. So on the planet. So thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right.